In lesson 4-1, we'll be talking about ratios and rates. So we're going to express ratios as fractions in the simplest form, and then determine unit rates. So one example of a unit rate would be like miles per hour, or like the cost of something, like the cost per ounce. So if you're at a grocery store and you wanted to compare the cost of a couple different items, you're going to want to figure out a unit rate so you can actually compare, as they say, apples to apples. So unit rate is always going to be over 1, like miles per hour would be miles per 1 hour, and stuff like that. So first of all, we're just going to be talking about writing ratios in simplest form. So express 12 blue marbles out of 18 marbles in simplest form. So we can just write the 12 over 18 as a fraction. And then what you want to think of is the greatest common factor. And then you're going to divide by that. So what is the biggest number that goes into both 12 and 18? Well, I see I can divide both top and bottom by 6. And I'm going to get 2/3. And 2/3 would be the simplest form. So 2/3 are blue. Since this is a word problem, we want to include units with our problem. So in this case, 2/3 of the marbles are blue. So express 10 inches to 2 feet in simplest form. The key thing here is that we have different units. In order to put this into a fraction, we need to have all the units be the same. So we want to say 10 inches to 24 inches rather than 10 inches to 2 feet. So we get it in common language, so that way we have inches and inches on both. And again, you want to think of the largest number that goes into both of these, and so we divide both top and bottom by 2. Again, we want to show that work. The reason whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, because really what we're doing is we're dividing both by 2 over 2, which is 1. And whenever you divide a number by 1, you're not really changing the number. And in this case, we're not really changing the number either, because all we're doing is writing it in an equivalent form. So 5/12 equals 10/24. They're the same fraction, just this is the simplest form. So pretty much we say 5 inches to 5 inches, or we can say 5 inches to 1 foot. If we get it back into the original form of it here with the common units. So reading, we have 141 pages in 3 hours. So how many pages does she read per hour? So now we're actually talking about unit rates. We don't want to know how many pages she's reading in 3 hours. We want to get it down to find out kind of her speed. Unit rate and rate, that's always kind of talking about a speed or a pace. So we want it just per 1. So that's why I always like to say, miles per hour, because it gets us thinking about that pace or that speed. So we have 141 pages, and we have 3 hours, and we want to get that down to 1 hour. So you look at how you're getting from 3 to 1, and what you did was you divided by 3. So we want to divide both top and bottom by 3. And so 141 divided by 3, we can take out our calculators if we need to. 141 divided by 3 equals 47. So we have 47 pages. And then we'll kind of want to rewrite this as a unit rate. We want to say 47 pages per hour. So kind of like when you write miles per hour, that way. We want to also write it like pages per hour, 47 pages per hour, rather than have it 47 pages per 1 hour. But either one of these ways will be acceptable for a unit rate. You could write it either way. They do mean the same thing. For example, 4, Alex spends $12.50 for 2 pounds of almonds and $23.85 for 5 pounds of jelly beans. So which item costs less per pound? By how much? So this is kind of one of those problems. I said if you're going shopping, you want to find out maybe a better deal. Maybe you can get a better price or a better rate if you buy in bulk. Sometimes people go to Sam's Club for that reason. They're actually maybe spending more, but per ounce or per package, they're getting it for less. So we need to figure out which one is a better deal here. So we have $12.50 per, and we can include our units here, per 2 pounds. So we know we want to get that to 1 pound so we can really compare apples to apples. And then we have $23.85, and that was for 5 pounds. And again, we want to get that to 1 pound. So we can compare 1 pound to 1 pound and see really which one is a better deal. So again, how do you get from 2 to 1? You divide by 2. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So $12.50 divided by 2 is going to be $6.25 per pound. And to get from 5 to 1, you divide by 5. So we're going to divide by 5 on top. And so when we take $23.85 and we divide that by 5, we get $4.77. So we have $4.77. So, and that's per 1 pound. So the jelly beans is actually cheaper per pound. And then it asks by how much. So now we want to take $6.25 and subtract $4.77 to find out what the real difference there was. So we'll regroup these a little bit. So we have 8 there, and we need to regroup this one as well. So we have a 4 and a 1. So the jelly beans are cheaper by $1.48 per pound. So we can say jelly beans are cheaper by $1.48 per pound. So all of this would be considered our answer right here. And everything you see above would be the work that you needed to show for your homework. Example 5, which costs more per issue, an 18-issue subscription for $40.50 or a 12-issue subscription for $33.60? So sometimes when thinking about getting a magazine or something like that, you want to figure out what's the better deal for you. So we always kind of want to put money on top because we want dollars per issue. So we want to figure out $40.50 per 18, and then we have $33.60 per 12. Okay, and I know we can throw this in our calculators really quick and figure this out, but I do need you to show me the work. So again, we're going to divide this by 18. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So we get it per 1. Unit rate. Unit stands for what's in the denominator. So I want to get the unit in the denominator to be 1. So I need to divide this by 12 and divide this by 12. So again, you will eventually throw these numbers in your calculator, and that's fine, but you have to show me the work in what you're doing. So $40.50 divided by 18 is going to be $2.25. For the 18-issue subscription, and then we're going to take our $33.60 and we're going to divide that by the 12-issue subscription to get $2.80. So it turns out that if we do want to have this magazine subscription for 18 months, if you actually want it for that long, or maybe even longer, you are going to have a better deal. Even though you are spending more money, you're spending $40 compared to $33. You're spending more money altogether, but you're actually getting a better deal per issue for the 18-issue subscription compared to the 12-issue subscription. You're getting a better price. So now it does say to explain. So kind of like the last problem, we'll find out why it's a better deal, and then we can explain it a little bit better in math terms. So we'll go ahead and regroup this. We get 5, 5, okay, and that's actually our answer right there. So let's say that an 18 issue subscription is cheaper by 55 cents per issue. So every issue that you get, you're actually saving yourself 55 cents total. So that'd be your answer and how you'd be expected to show all of your work. For example 6, a 20 gigabyte iPod sells for $249. A similar 30 gigabyte player sells for $349. So which player offers the better price per gigabyte storage? So again, we want to put money on top in most of these problems. So we're going to take $249 and we'll divide that by our 20 gigabytes. And then we're going to have our $349. And we're going to say that there's 30 gigabytes. So we know that we're spending more money, but we're getting more storage compared to these two. So we want to find out what is actually the best deal per gigabyte of storage. So we want to find per 1 gigabyte, and again over here for 1 gigabyte. So we need to divide both top and bottom by 20. Again, I do expect you to show me that work, show me the step. And then over here you're going to divide by 30 to get to 1. Okay, so then we can hop over to our calculators. We say 249 divided by 20 gives us about $12.45 per gigabyte. And then we go to the other one, and we have $349. Divide that by 30 gigabytes, and we're looking at about $11.63. So we're comparing these two items right here per gigabyte. So now we're really comparing apples to apples. And you notice, yes, we're spending an extra $100, but we're actually getting a better deal on a gigabyte of storage. So if you have the money and you plan on using all that space and storage space, you're actually getting a better deal per gigabyte if you buy the 30 gigabyte of storage iPod or MP3 player. So it's just a personal preference whether you want to spend that extra $100, and if you really think you're going to need it. But again, that's not really the question. The question is, what's the better price per gigabyte? So the better price is the 30 gigabytes of storage. If you'd like to see more examples of ratios and rates, be sure to check out the online tutors, or for questions with homework, you can check out the step-by-step homework helper. Otherwise, that is it for our examples for today.